Hi guys, it's Julius here. I'll be on Shutter throughout this whole course, and today, as the content shows, we'll be treating elements of design and principles of design. So before wasting my time, I think we must jump right into it and not waste too much time and probably your data. So people are probably wondering why I didn't really jump straight to the Photoshop app and really try moving some shapes around and also importing some images. That all takes time, and before we can start with Photoshop, you must know about graphic design. You must know about what you are doing. It's not only about using the app. So what's graphic design? Graphic design is basically a visual communication. It's a form of visual communication because it doesn't do with audio or any form of, it doesn't make any impression of any on any sense apart from the sense of sight. So it's visual communication that comprises text, images, and also ideas. We know text, we know images. Now what are ideas? Ideas are normally impressions the artist or the graphic designer wants to make on that particular artwork, as an impression he wants the viewers to know about. Like, I can give you some examples, like the color red, which depicts love, or it can be used for Christmas. Yeah, the color red can be used for these functions. So these kind of give ideas. It's associated with a certain idea. Omitting them or changing them would really cause a problem. Yeah, so and also there are these curly lines, if you've noticed, on food or chicken to depict that it's hot. Yeah, these are ideas. These are examples of ideas. They are just impressions to explain certain things in a design. So elements of design are basically the building blocks of art. They are the basics. They form art. Yeah, an artwork may probably contain or may not necessarily contain all of them, but it contains most of them basically. So elements of design are normally are just like the cells in our body or atoms in objects or anything we see around. It's the building blocks. Is the it gives the whole design structure. So without wasting my time, I will list the various elements of design. It's line, color, shape, space, text, and typography. So from this image, you can see color. I'm not going to waste so much time on this because the first time I tried, I wasted almost, I think, 25 minutes teaching elements of design. So I'm going to rush through fast. This is a topic that will be coming up as we go forward, and I'll be repeating it a lot. So yeah, I'll give you the explanation here. I'll give you some examples. By the time I'll be reiterating it, so no need to waste so much time on it. Plus, we have some practicals to perform at the end of this section. So there's color, there's brown. You can see red. Those are all elements of design. The elements that make up this particular flyer. This is considered as an artwork now. So there's color. There's type. That's the Panama pies. All these are type here, making up a design. We have shape. So this is a shape. This is a shape. And also texture. I think, let me give you a better. Somebody would say it's rather counterintuitive to think that you can feel with your eyes. As in, we feel with touch. It's a tactile thing. You can do this rough. Even without touching it, this rough. So texture, I wanted an artwork with more texture, but it seems this is the only thing I can use to probably in phase 2 we'll be blending some of these textures in flyers. Yeah, but for now I don't really have any flyer with texture. So we move to, I think we've done space. Space can also be known as white space or negative space in design. Normally billboards have those. This can also be called white space or negative space. Negative space is basically a part of the design without any element of design. It's practically empty. Emptiness in this case doesn't mean that it's not really part of the design or something. It's all part of it. It all plays a role, a big role in the design, giving the viewer like some space to breathe, Yeah, any artwork or any kind of elements on the flyer, anything on the flyer has weight. Yeah, and weight is given by color, size, or texture. So the texture or color or text that a particular element brings in the design has weight. So you can see this balance. Yeah, we have this. Normally signboards, those who design signboards want more space so that the viewer's eye will be drawn to the more important things. So here you can see it started a new pass. That's more important. We don't want to be writing small many things that are really not relevant. So based on relevance, size is determined by relevance in this case. Let me show you another signboard with I'm trying to give examples for white space. Yeah, white space. White space isn't necessarily white. Yeah, it's just an area without an element. Though there's color, but you can see there's space. Though there's color, which is an element of design, but I'm just trying to show space. So you can see space here. So what's those two billboards have in common is that they have more space, so that the viewer's eye will be drawn to the to the particular elements or particular text or info we want to show. But for flyers, there isn't much negative space or space to breathe, because the thing is closer to you and you can virtually see everything on it. Yeah, but billboards, they are normally far and you have to focus on the more relevant things. But with flyers, you have the freedom to just climb up stuff and you can get away with that. So from elements of design, we treat principles of design. So what's the difference between principles of design and elements of design? Elements of design are normally, as I said, the building blocks they make up. So if I'm using this analogy, it's like cooking. In cooking, we have the ingredients and we have the method of cooking. So elements are the ingredients of the food, and the principles of design are how the rules that guide the combination of these elements to produce a meaningful design. So you have the ingredients and the method of cooking to bring up something that can be tasted, at least. Yeah. So the principles are, let me start from emphasis. Yeah, emphasis has to do with salience, just bringing attention to a particular element. Salience can be showed by a change of color, a change of size. So in this particular picture, though the colors here are similar to these here, yeah, the brown color, but we are showing salience or prominence by size. So you can see the Panama is very big over here. Most flyers have these. So this one, the big topic, is also here. What I want your eyes to be drawn to see if there's a small drawing that shows emphasis. Yeah, in this case, they are using different shape and color to show emphasis. So you can see the yellow box over here. So as I said, emphasis can be showed by size, but this also an example. So it must be different from the other elements to draw attention. One of the main factors that draw attention is change. Yeah, so if something is different, it draws attention. So emphasis here. Let's move to balance and alignment. Balance and alignment is self-explanatory, as in you can see this one. Yeah, that your artwork is balanced, as in it's not really tilted to one particular part. So in design, we have symmetrical and asymmetrical balance. Yeah, this is an example of symmetrical one. You can see everything is balanced with the exception of these mini boxes or mini objects, which I'll talk about later. It's fairly balanced. It's very balanced here, and I'll show you examples of asymmetrical, because with symmetrical balance, it's kind of getting obsolete. Not really obsolete. If you're that creative, you can use it, but most artists are switching to the asymmetrical one because it's very nice. You can see, consider only this thing, the free online, and the design here, the one I'm circling. You can see it's asymmetrical with this the thin line in between it. Let me show you another example of asymmetrical designs. Yeah, this is symmetrical. Neglect this part. You can see this asymmetrical, this fairly asymmetrical. Yeah, Let me show a clear one. I want to show a clear one of asymmetry as a principle of design. As newbies, you can really stick to the symmetrical one just to be on the safer side. If you want to be more creative, I think the asymmetrical one is also good. So this is also depicting asymmetry. So you can see the words here and the picture here. As I said, any elements on art or on any graphical material has weight, and weight is produced by the color it brings to the final work, the size or the texture. So here the color is here, another color. So this, the text is being balanced by the image, which is really good. And I like this particular picture. This one, I'm not for your information, I'm not really advertising or campaigning for anybody. I'm not really trying to hype any brand. We are just learning about flyers. We are just learning about elements and principles of design using these as examples. So I really like this one because this also, just like the previous flyer, is balanced by an image and a box. Is very good. That's very good. The only problem, but which is minor and subtle, and I don't think it calls for much attention or edit, is probably this quite empty. But it's okay. It works perfect. It's perfect. It has been balanced, and I think the mistake is subtle. You can neglect it. There's also an example of asymmetrical balance. The picture here, trailer news, yeah. Asymmetry. Image here, another image. This is too small to call for attention. Like the words and words. Let's move to contrast. Contrast is normally difference in colors. Yeah, if you want to separate one particular element from the background or a host of others. So in this case, you can see the brown being separated from the red. If this one was at least pink or closer to red, it would have been difficult to read them. So you pick a color which is quite different from the background, so that the elements would stand out. So repetition is normally, as I said, it creates patterns. It's just elements being copied or being showed more than twice in a graphical work. Let me see. So here, repetition. Oh, there's a circle, another circle, and a circle. So basically, that's repetition. Let me show you the infographic to further cement your understanding in it. So pattern, repetition or pattern. So these are elements being clumped together, not necessarily clumped together, but they are kind of copied, and they are more than one. So repetition is not only about size, it's not only about shape, it's also color can also be repetition. Color, you can see brown here, white here, white here. So there's repetition in this particular artwork. This image here, another image here, that's also repetition. Yeah, and also the font size or font type can also, when repeated, can also show repetition in a material. So the fonts are the same. This font doesn't really balance with anything, but it's just to show emphasis. The first principle of design. So we'll move to the other one just to save time. Movement or rhythm. Graphical works are organized in the way to show movement, so to draw your eyes to certain things in a particular fashion or movement. So if you can see this one shows it perfectly. So there's welcomes all students back to school. So it draws your eye downwards. So you can see Jacob here. So it draws your eye downwards. So that's rhythm or movement. It has that particular effect. This also does the same thing. Expert multipurpose liquid soap, sparkling and fresh, and the contact here. So it draws your eye downward. You don't read upward. So it's organized in that way. This is also a perfect example. Yeah, draws your eyes downwards. After repetition, we have white space. We've talked about it. It's also a principle of design as well as an element of design. And another element of design is unity, which normally includes elements being repeated. Unity brings about linkage, as in it fuses the artwork together to form a whole. The difference between unity and harmony is that unity basically comprises elements coming together to form a shape. So this infographic shows it perfectly. So here it is. So different elements coming together to form a shape. But with harmony, they just have a particular feature which is characteristic of all of them, but they don't really come together to form a shape or form a particular object. So this unity, different triangles coming together to form a shape. So harmony can be showed as white here, white there, though they are not really together, but they have a particular characteristics, which is the color that links them together. We have variety. With newbies, you don't have to really experiment much with variety, but if you think you're that creative, you can go with it. The concept of variety flies in the face of all what I've talked about, because it's about preserving and also repeating certain elements. But with variety, you are just free to choose anything. As in this one here, the shapes here, these 4 shapes are completely different, but when put in an artwork, it looks perfect, it looks nice, though they have nothing in relation apart from their color. The shapes themselves are completely different. It's a nice thing to put, just like a symmetry. It's a nice thing, but you have to be careful when using them. I need another example of variety. I think I had one here. It's gone. Variety. No. Now you can see the leaves. These ones are different. They are very different. Though they have the same color, harmony, but they are very different shapes of leaves, and some are even in flowers. So that's also variety being showed in an artwork. And here another one is, these are also shapes, just like the first flyer I showed you. From variety, we go to scale. Scale is just comparison of sizes. So the size of one object or one elements in an artwork as relative to the other. So this shows scale perfectly. So you have a bigger circle, a medium one, a smaller one, a bigger one, another big circle with 2 relatively smaller ones near it. And harmony, I've talked about harmony, so we'll skip. So we are going to look at flyers. What happens when you don't really follow these elements, these principles of design? You'll probably end up with a gaudy design, which won't really be appealing or wouldn't be so good for your brand or for the person you are designing for. So I'm coming to show you some few faults with these designs. I'm not saying I'm better than somebody, but we just look on their works to correct our mistakes. This is a perfect flyer. It's very nice. I like the cake. I like everything. The organization is just spot on. But I think that this particular test could use a little increments. Yeah, it could have been made bigger and probably placed inside here. Because so in this case, it's emphasis, which isn't really respected here, which isn't really used here. The main of the business is too small to catch the eye, but it's okay. It works perfectly. But for smartphone, yeah, but for poster, it won't be really good because I want to see the name of the company. Yeah, and repetition. You want to repeat your brand. You want those Amy's cake to get stuck in the heads of people, in the minds of people, and you have to make it bigger. For posters, for flyers, I think you can get away with it and pretty much no suffer. This also this a beginner did this, so I think probably now he has learned from his mistakes and he's doing well. Yeah, so in this place is I think harmony with the colors. I think too many different colors, too many different designs, so they are not really united, as if each one is standing on its own. It's not really, unity isn't followed here and harmony isn't followed here in this particular flyer. And there's no main big test. I think the test that should have been emphasized is the Happy New Year, which should be in front and not have its opacity reduced. So it makes this flyer just downright not so appealing. And with this one, I think problems with symmetry, problem with color, This one doesn't really blend. The fact that you have to change colors to show emphasis, and also to show to show repetition doesn't mean that, or to show contrast doesn't mean that you have to use different colors. You must, based on your intuition, choose colors that are suitable, that are relatable. Because this red and black and white aren't, and the blue aren't really working well together, as if all of them stands on their own. And artwork isn't supposed to be like that. There's supposed to be unity. They must come together as one particular piece, not different pieces. These ones have different fonts, different tests with different sizes. Font, it's not even that symmetrical. I'm not really criticizing people, but I'm just showing some faults with their work. That's criticism, but let's take it like that. Okay, with this one too, the same thing. I think there isn't much harmony in this thing. Too many different fonts being used. There's quite different font type being used. They are just different, and there are these pictures running at the back. Too much of them. There's too much of them. So there's no unity in this particular case. Though the colors aren't that bad. Yeah, the repetition of colors it's passable. But too many elements and too many different ones too. So the real losers are those who don't really try. At least this guy tried, and they deserve a round of applause. Yeah, they do. After criticizing people, let me also criticize myself. These are old flyers that I designed when I was starting out, or starting with Photoshop. I think some of my new flyers. This is perfect. I like the effects. I'll be teaching you guys later in other tutorials, but just look at it. I think there's a problem with color, and the blue isn't repeated in anywhere, and the color though is different, and it's not really blending. As in these colors don't agree. And as I said, when choosing colors for an artwork, you must just use simple intuition, common sense to choose these colors, and these colors aren't really working. This is my own flyer. I'm also criticizing myself. This too has a problem with balance, and as the green flyer that I showed you, the green campaign flyer, open fast for me please. There's a problem with balance here, as if all the images are shifted here, and this left empty, though there's a background thing. It's still not balanced. And this Bella here is I designed this at the end of my project. I think now we've advanced. I don't design flyers like this. This is just not so appealing, though I was trying to show some artistic things here, but still it wasn't that appealing at the long run. So the Bella is too small to balance these. It should have probably been enlarged or something to at least balance these. So there's a problem with balance here. So after knowing all these elements, we'll go back to Photoshop